Hello, my friends. Today is March the 31st, and today I would like to read a story to you called Bonjour Mr. Satie by Tomie dePaola's. I'm reading this book today for two reasons. One is that it is about art and artists. The other reason is that it's to honor the life and the work of Tomie dePaola's, who died yesterday in Lebanon, New Hampshire at the age of 85. Bonjour Mr. Satie. And Tomie dePaola's used to come to my local bookstore every other summer or so for book signings. And one year, in 1996 actually, I had him dedicate this or sign this book to my son, Fred. So it starts with a postcard from Paris. My dear niece and nephew, my traveling companion, Fortescue, and I will be arriving from Paris very soon to spend the summer with all of you. What adventures we have to tell you about. Love, your Uncle Satie. And they live somewhere. This is to Rosalie and Conrad Abbey. They live at 110 Main Street, Centerville, Midwest, USA. Bonjour, Mr. Satie. Ever since the postcard arrived from Paris, Rosalie and Conrad had been waiting for the arrival of their uncle, Mr. Satie, world traveler, and his companion, Fortescue Follett, Esquire. Every day they asked Mama and Papa when they would arrive. So here they are waiting patiently for the arrival of their uncle. Hello, hello, Uncle Satie, cried Rosalie and Conrad. Hello, hello, Mr. Fortescue Follett. Hello, hello, everyone, cried the visitors, and they all hugged and kissed and went inside. Now that we're here, my dears, Mr. Satie said, Forty is going to cook us a fabulous French dinner, a special recipe from Alice and Gertrude, our dear American friends living in Paris, said Forty. And off he went to the kitchen. And Alice and Gertrude, there were Gertrude Stein and Alice Toklas. What adventures did you have this trip, Uncle Satie? Rosalie and Conrad asked. Well, mes enfants, do you remember my friend Pablo, who painted that portrait of me in blue? Well, his new paintings are very different. They caused quite a stir in Paris this spring. Oh, tell us, cried the children. Well, it all began the Sunday we arrived in Paris. Forty and I were sitting in our favorite cafe when who should come along but... Who should come along but Pablo. So that's Pablo Picasso. Come and join us. What have you been up to? Pablo was always up to something. Ah, Satie, Pablo said, I have been painting many things. I went from blue to pink, from pink to things African, and now my paintings show things from different sides, all at the same time. My goodness, Pablo, said Forty, how daring! I can't imagine how they look. I must see your new paintings, said Mr. Satie. And you shall, indeed you shall, said a large woman who had come up behind them. It was Gertrude, with her friend Alice. Nothing delighted Gertrude and Alice more than to bump into old friends. Come with us to the Rue des Fleurs for our Sunday night gatherings, Gertrude said. Tonight Pablo will show us his new work. Oh, please do, said Alice. All of Paris was interested in art. All of Paris was interested in art. Gertrude's salon, for that is what the Sunday night gathering was called, was the place where the interesting people came to discuss interesting things. Everyone was glad to see Mr. Satie. Bonjour, Mr. Satie. The salon was already filled with people. How they talked, how they laughed, how they argued. Suddenly, everyone was quiet. Henri had come in. Henri was a painter too. He looked a little like a bank clerk. Henri, said Gertrude. You are back from Nice so soon. Nice is in the south of France. Was Nice nice? Yes, Gertrude, Henri said. Nice was nice, and I did some nice paintings in Nice. I have brought them to show you. Pablo glowered. Oh, dear, Satie, Forty whispered. I smell trouble. But I'm showing my new paintings tonight, said Pablo. Gertrude said I could. So there's Henri Matisse, there's Pablo Picasso. Pablo put his paintings against one wall. Henri put his paintings against the other. Everyone started talking at once, taking sides. Pablo is brilliant. Henri is boring, shouted one group. Henri is a genius. Pablo is weird, shouted the other group. Oh no, cried Alice. A duel, the Russian prince shouted. A prize fight, yelled the American writer. Call the gendarme, screamed Pablo's wife. Enough, 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 bellowed Gertrude, and they all stopped at once. All right, she's saying, all right, that's enough. We shall have a contest, Gertrude announced. Pablo and Henri will hang their paintings in Monsieur V's gallery, and someone will judge them. But who will be the judge? Asked the lady poet from England. Well, Fortescue Follett spoke up, there is one among us who not only knows all about paintings, but is fair and honest and true. And that is my dear friend, Mr. Satie. Yes, 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 said Gertrude, and everyone agreed. So Mr. Satie is going to be the judge. All of Paris buzzed. All of Paris was interested. All of Paris held its breath. The day of the judging arrived. Gertrude and Alice, Pablo and Henri, and Forty accompanied Mr. Satie to the gallery. A huge crowd followed. Reporters from all the newspapers were there. Monsieur V greeted the crowd and led Mr. Satie inside. And here they are. So here's Mr. Satie. He's looking at Mr. Henri Matisse's paintings and at Pablo Picasso's paintings. Finally, Mr. Satie appeared at the door. Well, Satie, Gertrude asked. After careful consideration, said Mr. Satie, I have concluded that to compare Henri's paintings of Nice with Pablo's paintings of newspapers, guitars, and faces from all different sides would be to compare apples with oranges. Both are delicious, but both taste totally different. Pablo and Henri's paintings are also both delicious, but look totally different. I declare the contest a draw. A draw is like a tie. The crowd cheered, Vive Pablo, vive Henri, vive Mr. Satie. So basically, you can't compare them, they're different. Gertrude and Alice gave Mr. Satie big kisses because he had saved the day. After all, they loved both Henri and Pablo. Pablo and Henri shook hands with each other and then with Mr. Satie. The crowd cheered and lifted Henri, Pablo, and Mr. Satie onto their shoulders and marched down the boulevard to the cafe where they had a party. Right. So you can see that art is alive and well in Paris, said Mr. Satie. Rosalie and Conrad clapped their hands. Dinner's ready, announced Forty, and they all went to the dining room and sat down to a delicious meal. And now for some presents, said Mr. Satie. Paint sets, shouted Conrad. From Paris, cried Rosalie. And tomorrow we will go out and paint together, said Mr. Satie. And here they are, painting. And every day for the rest of the visit, Mr. Satie, Rosalie, and Conrad painted their pictures. And there's a little note at the end of the book from Tomie dePaola. And he says, during his lifetime, my good friend Mr. Satie traveled all over the world and had many adventures. I am honored that he chose me to pass them on to you. If some of the people he meets on his journeys look or sound familiar, I am not the least bit surprised. And I am so happy that I got to share this book with you today, boys and girls. Take care. Bye-bye.